So this is Sweet Tooth by Ian McEwan. Hardback, $18.99, available in all good bookshops. What's it about? Well, it's a story about a girl. It's a girl who falls in love with a succession of men. She falls in love with a college friend, then a lecturer, and then she falls in love with a girl, sort of, and then she falls in love with the man she's sent to spy on. Okay, his name is Tom, and he's a writer, and she's being paid by MI5 to go and sort of encourage him and produce propaganda as part of the Cold War effort. So it's set in the Cold War era, obviously, but it's really a domestic drama. It's a love affair, and the background therefore is all stories of 1972 blackouts. It's kind of nostalgic. So we get the net effect of killing 13 civilians on that day was to endear both wings of the IRA to the world. Sentimental and ignorant Americans, many of Protestant rather than Catholic descent, and so on and so on. And that's really my first criticism of the book, is that whilst this might all be very interesting to people who lived in 1972, it doesn't really have a lot to do with the story. It's a convenient backdrop. The story is being fleshed out, I think, by all this historical detail. There's very little effort to marry the plot with the historical background. Second thing I'd say is that it's a book of two halves, two love affairs, in essence two short stories which have been married together to make one whole. And the first story is this story of her love affair with a professor or a lecturer at Cambridge. And this, I think, McEwan, he does really well. This is an older guy, and she gets involved with him very much in a sort of father-daughter relationship. He shows her the world. Although Tony was in good shape for his age, I was a little put out the first time to see what 54 years could do to a body. His poor naked foot looked like a worn-out old shoe. What I took to be the norm, taut, smooth, supple, was the transient special case of youth. I liked him most when he was back in his clothes, with his fine parting restored, when he was great and good once more, settling me in an armchair, deftly drawing the cork from a Pinot Grigio, directing my reading. And there was something I've since noticed over the years, the mountain range that separates the naked from the clothed man, two men on one passport. Again, it hardly mattered. It was all one. Sex and cooking, wine and short walks, talking. I think that affair is described brilliantly, and the cottage that they go and visit, the walks, the atmosphere between them, I can't fault it at all. Then we move on to the sort of brief love affair with the woman, which is a platonic affair, but you still get the idea of the attachment. Then we move on to her having a crush on Max, who's somebody she works with at MI5 and who later plays a part in the denouement. And then we get on to the main affair of the book, which is the affair she has with Tom, the writer, who she's supposed to be encouraging. Foundation is supposed to be paying for Tom's writing. Well, yes and no. I mean, okay, you can fall in love with somebody, but to try and make it last for the best part of 200 pages, it's hard going at times, and he has to be constantly seeking back to other material to sort of pad it out. So we flash back to the friend, the girlfriend, we flash back to Max, who she's had this crush on, we flash back to Tony, we flash back to the Cold War. We're going all over the place, but basically nothing happens. They fall in love. They fall in love, they have a nice time, they drink champagne, eat a lot of oysters. That part actually is the best part. The champagne and oysters are really, really good. And we start to develop a sort of tension where we really want to see what's going to become of this decadent couple that are being funded by the state to have a good time, who are both living in a world of illusion. It's surely going to come shattering down and land them all right in it. And the good thing too, we don't really like this couple. And then, lo and behold, at the end, well, I won't give it all away, but it's not the ending that I wanted. And it left me feeling unsatisfied, really, on many counts. Unsatisfied because this was a series of short stories I felt that had been somehow welded into a book by the effort of putting the Cold War in the background. And I think there wasn't really enough plot here to sustain a novel. It's short stories married together. And the funny thing is that there's lots of mention of short stories in the book, and there's other short stories are included along the way, short stories that the writer Tom himself has written. It's almost like help of every idea I've had out here, which has really come to nothing. I can somehow weld them into a novel and sell it for $18.99. But that's not to undermine the fact that some of the short story elements in this collection of welded together short stories, are very good, and were in places really enjoyable to read, but just unsatisfying as a whole. So that's it, guys. Sweet Tooth by Ian McEwan.